Okay, Steve Mills here. Welcome. It's great to have you here on the Success in Table Tennis podcast. This is a podcast that I set up just a little while ago with the objective of helping youngsters, juniors, people wanting to progress in our fantastic sport, and also to be of interest to anybody and everybody who's got an interest in table tennis. Now, you may know, so far I've interviewed a couple of our top players in the UK, namely Alan Cook, who I think was 6 times English champion and Commonwealth champion, Des Douglas, who, I don't know, 11 times English champion and, one of the top, I think, 7 players in the world. Well, today we're going international. We've got a gentleman who was, I believe, 5 times USA champion. There's a gentleman that I've played against, and we had a fantastic game. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But welcome, Dan Seemiller. It's great to have you here, and thank you ever so much for your time in being here.
You're welcome. It's great to be here. I have a lot of great memories from England. I'm a professional player. Like you said, I won 5 U.S. singles championships. I won 12 U.S. doubles championships. I certainly remember the 1977 Worlds in Birmingham. That was a great time for me. So, yeah, I've been in the sport my whole life. Currently, I work at the South Bend Table Tennis Club. I've been there for 25 years, and I teach the juniors, and I run the club. And it's great to do something that you love.
Oh, that's fantastic. I think when you play sport, and I know table tennis is definitely a lifelong sport for many people. I don't know, how old were you when you first started? I think I was about 13, so I was a little bit late, arguably.
Yeah, I started when I was 10 at the recreation center. And then I have 5 brothers and 3 sisters. So we got a table for Christmas because I was really into it. And then I played with my brothers, my sisters, our friends. And then we went to a local club and we realized we weren't very good. And then it kind of went from there.
Okay, great. Well, table tennis, we were just saying before we started that in table tennis, one of the things as you do get older, you realize was that, do you know what? If I'd only known back then what I know now, I would have been much better. And I think that probably applies across the board in any sport, almost in any, in your job and your career and so on and so forth. But, it really does, I'm sure, at table tennis, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Tell you the truth, Steve, I'm still learning. I tell people my
Yeah.
best game is ahead of me, because if you really fix up your techniques, doesn't matter your age, you're going to save a lot of practice time. So I tell my students, pay tremendous attention to technical knowledge, because it'll save you a lot of time and you'll improve faster.
Yeah. Well, that's great advice. Focus on the basics. Everybody wants to do the flash thing, don't they? The backhand loops off the ground, but it's really getting the basics in place, isn't it? That really, when I played, I used to be very much up and down. On my day, I could beat world-class players, but I could also easily lose to some county player in England. So the difference between Steve on a good day and Steve on a bad day was quite huge. But looking back now, I'd say, probably the most important word in table tennis is probably consistency. Not only consistency in terms of, having a consistent backhand or consistent forehand, but practicing consistently, getting the mental side of the game consistently at the right level, so you're not up and down and thinking, oh, what happens if I lose, and all those negative thoughts. It's so incredibly important, isn't it?
Well, you certainly don't want to try to win or lose, because that's what you'll do. So you really just want to keep your focus as much as possible. Everybody loses their focus. And like you said, the fundamentals are so important. If they have good fundamentals, then the sky is the limit. When the fundamentals are poor, then boy, you're working against bad habits and everything can go astray. But for mental help, what I do a lot is, I'm always playing with my mind. I tell my mind, and even though it's not true, maybe I can get in the first game, Steve, and I'll say, Dan, you lost that first game. What the heck is going on? You got to get going here. Let's get going. And that keeps me motivated. And even if I'm ahead like 9-3, I feel like it's still far from the finish line. You're not even close yet. So I'm always playing games with my mind, and believe me, you can trick your mind. It's one of the best things to do.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a great book that I read many years ago called The Inner Game of Tennis. Have you heard of that?
Yes, I've read that long,
Yeah,
long time ago. I don't remember
yeah.
too much about it, but I know that was really popular.
Well, it was the guy, can't remember his name now. He said that there are like two people inside us. It's like, I'm talking to myself means I must be one person and myself are another. And he calls it like the conscious and the subconscious mind. And if you can quieten the mind that says, don't make a mistake here, Steve, and just let the internal side just play, then that's when you play well. And I think that's really true. You tend to play well when you're not really thinking about it, don't you? When you start letting your mind take over and think, oh, don't do this, don't do that, don't make a mistake. That's often where all the mistakes happen.
Well, you really have to try to stay positive. Easier said than done. That's certainly.
Yeah, I agree.
You got to try to stay positive, and like I said, don't worry so much about winning and losing. The key is when I go out to a match, if I'm ready and I've warmed up and I've performed and I've studied my opponent a little bit, I'm already okay with the result. I'm just going to go out and do my best, 100%. Never give up, and whatever happens, the result is not important to me. It's going to happen. If he's better than me, he will win. But I want to make sure I play my best, and if I do that, maybe I'll win at the end.
Yeah. Do you know what? I was always the same. I never really, I was going to say I never minded losing. I never liked losing. I was always very, very competitive. But as long as I played to my ability, it was when I played badly. I didn't, if I felt as though I'd let myself and perhaps my team down, that was always worse than the actual loss, I think.
Sometimes I've lost a bad match where I played just awful. Just awful. And I sit in the corner and I think, well, you can't blame anybody. You were there, you did it. Let's learn from it and let's move on. And let's not blame anybody because you did it. There's nobody else but you. So let's take responsibility. And every time you lose a match, it's an opportunity to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. You either win or you learn, don't you? I think,
Yeah, if you're going to be good, that's right. A lot of people, when they lose, they get mad, they find excuses, and they don't learn. And it's like, oh, no, you have to learn. Like sometimes my students, it'll be 9-0 in the fifth game, and they'll lose. And I'll say, well, what did you serve at 9-0? And they'll say, I don't remember. I'm like, you don't remember what you served at 9-0 2 minutes ago? You must know because that's going to help you in the future.
Yeah, I agree. Just before we carry on, because this is a really interesting conversation, but I just want to remind you and tell everybody about when we played. I don't know whether you remember this, but I do to this day, because it was something that gave me huge, and I mean huge respect for you. We're playing in a major tournament in the UK. I can't remember what round, but it was, for me, you were like a really good win. You were, what did you get ranked in the world? Were you, I can't remember.
The highest I was 19th.
19th, 19. 19th in the world. So you were a fantastic win for me. I played you. I didn't beat you, but I was 19 all in the third. So this was back in the days of 21-0. 19, one game all, 19 all in the third. And we played a rally and I hit a ball and it hit the edge. And the umpire went 19-20. And I said, no, that touched the edge. And the umpire said, no, I never saw it. And so I started, a little bit of an argument with the umpire about it. I said, no, it definitely touched. And then you said, yes, it touched. You said it touched, which I thought, wow, there's not many players, in any sport would do that. But you said, yes, it touched. And the umpire said, No, I'm the umpire, 1920. So even though I said it touched, you said it touched, the umpire wouldn't give me the point. So the very next point, I served the ball and you hit it into the air. You purposely missed the ball. You hit it out of the court somewhere to give me the point back. And I've always remembered that. That must be like 30 odd years ago. So huge respect for you to do that. What I didn't like is that you still went on and beat me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, thanks. I certainly remember that. I definitely remember even the table we were playing on. And it was like
Do you? Right? Wow, wow.
And I remember, it obviously hit, and I was trying to tell the umpire, you have to give him the point because I'm telling you. And they were like, no, it's my ruling. I'm like, but
I know.
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Crazy.
And it was unfair. And then I didn't know what to do because even giving you the next point is not totally fair to you because you should have had 2019.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, what you did was great.
Yeah, the umpire wouldn't give it to you. But yeah, I remember that match. And luckily I won that one. And I know
you did.
I remember.
It's all a long time ago, but it was great, and I had a huge respect for you, and I've told that story many times. So let's get down to it now. Let's start to think about, in terms of helping youngsters coming up, what would be, I don't know, your top 3 or 4 tips that you'd give to anybody that's listening right now. There are perhaps a young player, club, county, a regional player, or even a young international player who wants to get to the next level. What would they be?
Well, I think the first thing you want to do is you have to have a good table tennis environment. So you have to have a club that's close by or a table that's nearby your home, and you have some practice partners that are your level or better, that have the same goals maybe that you have, so that you can practice 3, 4, 5 times a week. That environment is very important. So you have to be proactive. If you don't have a good practice situation, well, go make one. You need to make it, or go play in a tournament, whatever. It's up to you. No one's going to help you. Of course, you're going to need coaching. That goes without saying. You're going to need a good coach, but hopefully you can find one. And if you're going to be a good player, you're going to have passion. You're going to have to practice at 7 a.m. Sometimes you have to practice at 10 p.m. You're going to have to really go out of your way if you want to be a great player. And then the sky's the limit. So, I think I'd always tell my students, if you want to be a great player, you have to always be early.
Okay, we just lost you a little bit there, Dan. Not sure whether the microphone, we had problems, but we just lost you a little bit on that one. Could you just repeat the last bit again?
Yeah, something is it better now?
A little bit.
It's cracking. Yeah, it's cracking. I don't know why.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Sorry about this, everybody listening. Dan's just having a little bit of a problem with the microphone. Hopefully we'll get him back any second. I think we've lost Dan. Hopefully he'll come back literally any second. While we're waiting, I'll give you my three tips to improve. Dan was just saying that about the environment, and I totally agree with what Dan's saying. I spent my youth growing up in Sheffield, and that was a great time. There were some really good players in Sheffield, and I worked my way up, from literally Division 13 and worked my way up and up and up, albeit quite quickly. I started when I was 13. By the time I was 17, 16, 17, I was pretty much the best player in Sheffield. And I got to a level where I thought, right, do you know what? I'm better than these guys. I probably now need to go and find people who are better than me in order to practice against. So I used to travel pretty much most days, probably 3, perhaps 4 days a week, over to Manchester to practice with the players over there, because there was like a group of certainly probably about 4 or 5 top 30 ranked players, and 2 players, John Hilton, who became the European champion, and I think world number 5 at one point, European number 1, and Nigel Eckersley, who was permanently, like myself, pretty much ranked in the top 10 in England. Nigel was generally a little bit better than me. I'd say he was more like 4, 5, 6 in England, where I was more like 6 to 10 in England, that sort of level. So they were great guys to practice with. And one thing about the 2 of those in particular is that they were very, very professional, very professional. You know, they didn't really you know, tolerate fools, you know, and they worked incredibly hard. Both Nigel and John were literally as fit as a butcher's dog, you know, both of them. And you know, that in itself, I think, was, you know, a huge influence on me. You know, I spent time around them, you know, being in the culture, as Dan just said, it was really important. He also mentioned about coaching, and that is important. And, you know, I think these days in table tennis, there are huge opportunities. The level and the standard of coaching is a lot higher than it was back when I played. With more professional coaches, and coaching generally in sport has become much, much better. You know, I think it's really important to get a coach, but also I think it's really important to be able to coach yourself. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, you know, working on improving your level of knowledge of the sport, and of fitness, and of flexibility, and of diet, and of all the things that equal this top player that you're aiming to become, whatever that is, whether it's world champion, English champion, you know, Sheffield champion, whatever you want to try to achieve. You know, it's about taking you and your game to the next level. If you looked at all the elements, if I asked you now to write down each and everything within your world of table tennis that would impact your standard. So that could be your backhand, your forehand, your topspin, your push, your defense, your attack, your consistency, your serve, your receive of serve, your footwork. And they're the sort of things to do with table tennis. And then outside that are your level of fitness, of flexibility, your speed, your diet, your stamina, your mental side of your game, you know, your determination, your belief in yourself, you know, how you control the nerves and things like that are all keys to being a top player. And so if you looked at those as areas of development, things that you need to try to work on, because was there anything I mentioned there that didn't affect you at all? The answer is no. And so if you can improve in each and every element of your game, then you don't need to like improve your forehand by like 60%, because you're just working on the bit of your game that if you do that, and you do that in multiple ways, you can get significant improvement. So that's 2 ways. So my third way, third thing I want to tell you, and this is something that I'm really quite passionate about in table tennis, is understanding your results, what results you're currently getting. Now, by that, what I mean is, you know, if I open up, you know, I'm in a rally where somebody's pushed the ball or served the ball short, and I open it up with my backhand, what percentage of points do I win? Because that's a really important number. And the same on the forehand. So if I do a forehand serve with backspin, how many points do I win compared to a forehand serve with topspin? You know, which one's the better? What's the conversion rates? And when I talk to even top table tennis players now, they don't know. They say, well, I don't know. If you went to talk to, I don't know, a Roger Federer, and I said to him, so Roger, tell me, what's your second serve win rate for this season or this tournament or that match? He'd know exactly. He'd know exactly. He'd be able to tell me that, well, right now, Steve, I'm winning 67.6% of my matches. So that's where we are. So I think we're back with Dan now.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, you're great now.
Val, can you close that door? Sorry about that. Yeah,
That's all right. It's one of those things. I held the fort for you. I came up with my three things. So
okay, good.
No worries, no worries. So you said there, getting in the right environment, getting around the right sort of people, ideally people as good as you are, if not better. And then we heard you say, then to get a coach, you know, get a good coach who can help you. That's when we lost you a little bit. So if you want to carry on from there, Dan, that would be great.
Yeah, and a lot of people say, well, I don't have good practice partners, whatever. You have to be proactive, Steve. You have to find practice partners, or you have to be tables. Go out of your way to go practice 2 hours with Jim or whatever. Make sure you go to an extra tournament. So if you're proactive, you're going to get good practice partners. I actually play in our barn in our backyard, and our goal was to be Chinese someday. And we actually did it because we played 8-10 hours a day. Be proactive. So that's really important. And lastly, you have to have passion. You have to really want it.
Yeah.
My son, he was never good at sports. He didn't like table tennis. And then when he was about 14, he got the passion for it. And now he's a pro. So once you get that passion.
Wow.
And my wife always said, if he really likes it, he'll do it.
Yeah. I agree. I think, people like ourselves have been so lucky, haven't we, finding something that we love, that we can spend our life doing. Most people spend their lives doing a job that they absolutely hate. They, spend 5 days a week looking forward to the other two, so they don't have to work. But with what you do, certainly you've got a passion for it. You love doing what you do, and that's absolutely brilliant. So,
and lastly, for the kids, I think always be early. For anyone, always be early. Never be late. It's a bad thing to be late at.
Okay. Yeah. Good one. So, if you were now talking to an 18-year-old Dan Seemiller, what advice would you give him?
What advice would I give him? Well, I would tell him that be a professional table tennis player. If you want to go that route, you're going to have to do exhibitions and give lessons and try to make money so you can keep going. That would be certainly the advice. I would tell him he would probably have to get coaching from several coaches, not just one. Travel around, get some from. I got coaching from Stellan Bengtson and Chen Yinghua and Li Chenxi. So whenever you can get coaching from great coaches, boy, that's just amazingly great.
Yeah.
And you have to play a lot of tournaments because you can't teach experience.
Yeah. There's nothing like actually being in that competitive environment, is there? So you got coaching from Stellan, yeah? Stellan Bengtson.
Yeah, Stellan's been here in America for a long time. He's helped me out.
Yeah.
I got a lot of coaching from Li Chenxi for the Chinese.
Okay, wow.
For 5 years. And I also had Husheng, Gozo Zadi, and Del Suarez. They were our national team coaches. They were all very good, in different ways. That's the key. Is some of them are very good technically, others are good mentally, others are kind of good just making sure everything's in place, and some are good motivators. So most coaches don't have all those skills.
I was talking to Carl Preen a little while ago, and he was telling me that when he played in Germany, Stellan was the coach at his team, and he said he was just like off the charts in terms of how good he was. He was very impressed with with him, and he said you know, at the time, I think I'm assuming Stellan had retired and was now the coach to his team, and you know, he said he was just a brilliant coach.
He sure is.
Yeah. So that's brilliant. Now, I wanted to show you this. You may it's really weird in a way that we're on the call together now, because literally about a month ago, I'm sat here in my office, and I'm in a sort of I run a marketing business now, and I'm in this like office with about 20 other officers in the same building. Now, one of the guys is a German guy, a guy called Andreas, and nothing to do with table tennis, not a table tennis player at all. But I just happened to mention to him that I played table tennis, and about a week later, he turned up, knocked on the door, and he said, I've brought something for you, and held up that. You may remember that, yeah?
Nice. Yeah,
I said,
nice.
oh, bloody heck. I said, that's Dan Seemiller. I said, I've played him. He said, oh, we had an amazing conversation. So I just thought I'd show you that. Now, I believe, I can't remember, have you got a book out, or you're about to launch a book? I know it's something.
I'm about to launch a book.
About to
Steve.
launch, okay.
I'm really excited. Now, it'll be out March 15th. You can get it on Amazon. It's a picture book. It's 300 pictures from my career and also of other players. It's very diverse.
Okay.
It's not a written story, but each page is a photo with comments by me, and it's 200 pages long. And there's some incredible photos. It's some crazy, wild stories from North Korea.
Okay.
World championships from England, and you know, I had a great time in England. I played a lot in England, so there's a lot about English tournaments. And I was there with Ian Horsham. I stayed with him for a while, and Nicky Jarvis for a while. And,
okay, yeah.
I wanted to show you this one too. This was I don't know if you can see that.
I can, yeah.
Pickwick Invitational in 1974. I was invited to that, and that was my first tournament in England. And Dennis Neal was there, Nicky Jarvis, and Klaus Pedersen, and it was a really great tournament, great memory.
It's amazing, isn't it? It really is.
I'm so excited about this book because I've read a lot of books from athletes and all that, and they get a little bit like my personal book. I felt was a little boring because who wants to just read about somebody's total life? In pictures, though, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it'll sell, and I think it's you could almost put yourself in my place the whole way through.
Yeah, brilliant. And people can buy it on Amazon. And what's it called?
It's called Smash Moments, Memories, and Tips. And I have about 100 tips in there too. So
great.
It's a teaching book too.
So a good book for you youngsters as well. I was saying actually, Dan, while you were off, one of the most powerful things I think you could do. My third tip was to learn, spend time learning, read books on sports psychology, on nutrition, on flexibility, on improving stamina, as well as table tennis books, as well as, there's this great little website that quite a few people are using these days called YouTube. There's so much stuff on there. You could almost learn how to play. Not literally, but you can learn what good looks like by watching people, I've always thought, these days you can watch the best in the world anytime you want, 24/7, and learn from them. Look, I always remember, do you know of Tony Robbins? I'm sure you do, yeah?
I remember the name, yes.
Yeah, Tony's like a personal development guy, and he says that like the key to success is to know what you want, have a plan for it, take action, measure what's working and what's not, and if it's not working, do something different. But his fifth tip is model success. Go and find somebody who's got what you want, do the same things. you get the same or similar results, which is really what you said at the beginning. Get yourself into the right culture, get yourself around the right people. I was saying that, I used to travel from Sheffield to Manchester 4 days a week for many, many years to go and practice with, John Hilton, Nigel Eckersley and Dave Constance and people like that, who were all ranked in the top. Nigel and John were in the top 10 in the UK for many, many years. And John, I think, got ranked 5 in the world at one point when he became European champion. But
Yeah, as you say that, yeah.
Yeah,
When I used to compete, Steve, I always read books, from Wayne Gretzky and Tiger Woods and Bjorn Borg. And what I would do when I'd go to the nationals, I would maybe take Andre Agassi's book or Pete Sampras's book.
Great.
They always had these sayings in their head that is like really great. And then I would take that saying and say, this is what I'm going to use this tournament. I'm going to think this saying, and I'm going to be that. And these are champions, so like you say, you learn from them.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much you can learn from. It's great if it's table tennis, but they don't have to be. It
don't have to be. No.
Being a champion. It doesn't matter whether it's table tennis or tennis or any other sport. Really, we can all learn a lot from those who are hugely successful. So. I don't want to take too much more of your time, so we'll sort of bring things to a head. I just, again, thank you so much. It's so great to talk to you. It really is. It's been wonderful. And, I suppose just to finish off, what would your, as a final one tip or one thing, the biggest, bestest, most powerful thing you could tell people to do, what would that be?
Well, when I played, I was really good at making comebacks. So the main thing I say is don't ever give up. Just keep fighting to the end. Move your serve around. Try to hit to somewhere else. Just fight all the way to the end. It's literally never over. If you think it is, it will be.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much again. I hope to one day meet you in person at perhaps a World Table Tennis Championships, albeit in the veterans. But again, really appreciate your time. Thank you ever so much. I wish you everything that you wish for yourself, and stay healthy. And thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you, Steve. And if anybody buys the book, I guarantee the table tennis players are going to love it.
I will do my best to promote it for you on Facebook and so on. So I'm sure it'll go down great.
Thank you, Steve. Really appreciate it.
Take care. All the best.
You too.